Welcome to Ask the Lawyer radio podcast with attorney Brian Figueroa of the law firm Figueroa and Associates. This podcast features a recording of our most recent radio show aired weekly in New York City. We hope you enjoy the show, which features news, views, and interviews on matters such as immigration, personal injury, bankruptcy, divorce, family law, estate planning, wills and probate, deed transfers, civil rights, criminal defense, workers' compensation, and taxes, both individual and business. You can contact us at 855-768-8845 or visit us at www.askthelawyer.us. You have questions? We've got the answers.
Sexual abuse of women, the intersection of fear, economics, education, and immigration status. Sexual abuse remains a pervasive issue that affects women worldwide, cutting across socioeconomic, cultural, and demographic boundaries. While it is commonly understood as a violation of physical autonomy, its roots are often deeply embedded in social constructs and personal vulnerabilities. Women who experience sexual abuse often find themselves entangled in complex situations where fear, economic dependence, lack of education, and immigration status create an environment conducive to continued abuse. Understanding how these factors individually or collectively increase vulnerability is crucial for friends, family members, and professionals aiming to support survivors. Additionally, recognizing the signs of abuse and implementing targeted solutions can help break the cycle of victimization and empower women to reclaim their lives. This article examines the intersection of these factors, identifies potential warning signs, and offers practical solutions to combat sexual abuse. Sexual abuse and the role of fear. Fear is a fundamental tool used by abusers to maintain control over their victims. It can manifest in various ways, from threats of violence to subtle manipulations that undermine a woman's sense of safety and autonomy. Understanding how fear perpetuates abuse requires exploring its psychological dimensions and recognizing how it immobilizes victims. The manipulation of fear. Abusers often leverage fear to silence and control their partners. This fear can be rooted in the threat of physical harm, the danger of losing custody of children, or the prospect of social isolation. In many cases, the threat does not need to be acted upon repeatedly. The mere possibility of violence is enough to keep the victim compliant. Women in abusive relationships may also fear the consequences of leaving, especially if they are financially dependent or lack a social support system. This immobilizing fear can be exacerbated when the abuser threatens to ruin the woman's reputation, harm loved ones, or retaliate in other ways. The psychological impact of fear-induced abuse. Living in constant fear has profound psychological impacts, including anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Victims may become hypervigilant, constantly monitoring their environment to avoid triggering the abuser. This state of heightened alertness can lead to chronic stress and health issues, including insomnia, digestive problems, and weakened immune responses. Examples of fear tactics: threats of harm, direct or implied threats to the victim or her children. Isolation, restricting contact with friends, family, or support networks. Intimidation, destroying personal belongings, displaying weapons, or using aggressive body language. Emotional manipulation, convincing the victim that leaving would result in catastrophic consequences. Economic dependency and sexual abuse. Economic dependency is one of the most significant barriers preventing women from escaping abusive relationships. When a woman lacks financial autonomy, her ability to leave an abuser becomes severely compromised. Economic control as a form of abuse. Economic abuse occurs when an abuser controls a victim's access to financial resources, effectively trapping them in the relationship. This control can take several forms: withholding money, limiting or denying access to cash, bank accounts, or credit cards; sabotaging employment, preventing the victim from working or causing job loss through public disturbances or sabotage; accumulating debt, forcing the victim to take loans or credit cards in their name. In many cases, abusers use economic dependency as a means to strip their partners of independence. This tactic is particularly effective when women lack access to employment opportunities or live in areas where economic mobility is limited. Real-life examples. A woman whose abusive partner insists on being the sole earner and withholds money for basic needs. An immigrant woman whose spouse controls her earnings and denies her permission to work outside the home. Breaking the cycle of economic control. Empowering women economically is a crucial step in preventing and addressing sexual abuse. Community-based programs that offer financial literacy, job training, and microfinancing can help survivors regain autonomy. Additionally, legal reforms aimed at recognizing and addressing economic abuse can hold perpetrators accountable. The role of education in sexual abuse. Education, or the lack thereof, plays a crucial role in shaping a woman's ability to recognize and escape abusive situations. Women with limited education are often less aware of their rights and may struggle to access resources that could help them. Lack of awareness and information. Educational deficits can result in a lack of awareness about healthy relationships, legal protections, and community resources. This ignorance is often exploited by abusers who manipulate their partners into believing that abusive behavior is normal or deserved. Correlation between education level and abuse risk. Statistics indicate that women with lower educational attainment are at greater risk of experiencing sexual and domestic violence. This correlation is partly due to reduced job prospects, limited social mobility, and decreased access to support networks. Educational initiatives for prevention. Programs that integrate abuse awareness into basic education curricula can empower women and girls from a young age. Additionally, adult education initiatives that include information on rights and resources can be invaluable for older women trapped in abusive relationships. Immigration status as a factor. For immigrant women, the intersection of immigration status and abuse presents unique challenges. Fear of deportation, cultural stigma, and language barriers can make it extremely difficult for these women to seek help. Legal vulnerability. Abusers often exploit their partner's uncertain immigration status to maintain control. By threatening deportation or withholding important documents, they ensure compliance and silence. This dynamic is especially common among women on dependent visas or those without legal status. Cultural and language barriers. Some immigrant women come from cultures where discussing abuse is taboo. Language barriers further complicate the process of seeking help, as many shelters and support services lack multilingual staff or culturally competent care. Supportive policies and programs. Initiatives that provide confidential legal aid and immigration advice are essential. Some jurisdictions have introduced policies that allow abused women to file for legal residency independently, reducing the abuser's leverage. Intersecting factors. When fear, economics, education, and immigration overlap. In many cases, these factors do not exist in isolation but intertwined to create a web of oppression. For example, an immigrant woman with limited education and financial resources may find herself especially vulnerable. Fear of deportation and economic dependency can coerce her into staying in an abusive relationship despite the risks to her safety and well-being. Understanding these intersections is crucial for developing nuanced interventions that address the full scope of a woman's vulnerabilities. Signs of sexual abuse. A guide for friends, family, and professionals. Recognizing signs of abuse can be challenging, as victims may go to great lengths to conceal their situation. However, there are telltale indicators that loved ones and professionals should be aware of. Behavioral changes, withdrawal from social activities, anxiety, or sudden mood swings. Physical signs, unexplained injuries, frequent medical visits, or signs of stress-related illnesses. Financial red flags, sudden financial difficulties or the inability to make independent purchases. Isolation, severed or limited connections with friends and family. Language and cultural barriers, reluctance to speak or participate, especially if the abuser is present. Support and solutions. Supporting survivors requires a multifaceted approach that addresses the unique challenges posed by fear, economic dependency, education, and immigration status. Creating safe spaces for disclosure, safe environments that protect confidentiality encourage survivors to share their experiences without fear of retaliation. Community centers, healthcare facilities, and schools can play a pivotal role. Resource accessibility. Ensuring that survivors have access to shelters, financial assistance, legal aid, and language support can significantly reduce the barriers to leaving an abusive situation. Policy advocacy. Advocating for stronger protections for immigrant survivors, economic empowerment programs, and educational initiatives is essential for long-term change. Conclusion: sexual abuse is a complex issue that often intersects with fear, economic dependency, educational gaps, and immigration challenges. Understanding how these factors compound each other is vital for providing effective support and intervention. Friends, family members, and professionals must be vigilant, compassionate, and proactive in identifying abuse and guiding survivors to safety. By advocating for systemic change and offering practical resources, communities can break the cycle of abuse and support women in rebuilding their lives. Empowerment, education, and protection are the cornerstones of fostering a society where women can live free from fear and violence.
Do you have a legal issue, question, or concern? Turn to Ask the Lawyer. You have questions? We've got answers. For a consultation or to refer a client, visit www.askthelawyer.us. Again, www.askthelawyer.us. You can also register for our paralegal program, get legal news, business consults, or other information on educational issues. Yes, Ask the Lawyer. You have questions? We've got answers. For a consultation or to refer a client, visit www.askthelawyer.us. Again, www.askthelawyer.us.